I followed him, only to have my curiosity.
What is this? Oh, okay. Apparently we got some baby turtles in there. Alright guys, so right now we're going to talk about the episode Lone Rat and Cubs. So the episode title, it's actually a reference to a very popular Japanese manga which is called Lone Wolf and Cubs. And in fact, you fans for the 2003 series, there was a season 1 episode of that series that was titled Lone Rat and Cubs. But so here, Lone Rat, it's the title is obviously a reference to Master Splinter, which we actually do see again over here. And the way this episode actually opens up is actually really neat. So we open up with Splinter, and we see the turtles, but they're actually kids. So obviously it takes place, before the first episode. And we actually hear the turtles that are voiced by the turtles voice actors that we know. I feel like they kind of put that part in there just so there's probably some contractual reasons that we have to have the 4 main cast in this episode. I can see that, but it does work out really well. Now here's me being nitpicky. Now Leonardo, voiced by Seth Green. Now if you guys remember back in season 3 when we actually had the voice change between Jason Biggs to Seth Green, the current voice actor of Leonardo for the series, the reason why his voice changed was because he got injured from the season 2 finale, and that's why his voice was different. And over here, we're back over here. Obviously this takes place before the show, and he's actually he still has that deeper Seth Green kind of voice that Jason Biggs didn't actually get out.
I want to learn more about Japan, Master Splinter.
Obviously, they're not going to bring him back for this one episode, and that's mainly because of what went down with the whole his Twitter incident, and all that, and all those politics and everything. So, but yeah, Leonardo's technically shouldn't be having that voice, but he does. But it's okay. We can overlook that. And I'm wondering if any other person kind of picked up on that other than me. So, what's a really great thing actually about this episode? It's actually written by Kevin Eastman, and which is actually really cool. And if you guys don't know who he is, first I have a whole interview with him. You guys can go watch that right now. He is actually the co-creator of Ninja Turtles. Pretty much still very active in the Ninja Turtle community, as he draws up some of the the alternate covers for the IDW comics, and he actually does the voice of Ice Cream Kitty as well. This episode is actually written by him. It's actually really cool. We got the Usagi episode that was written by Stan Sakai. Now we got a Ninja Turtle episode written by Kevin Eastman. Now if only we can get Peter Layard to write a Ninja Turtle episode 2, that would be amazing. The premise of this episode is basically, this is when Splinter and the Turtles first get mutated. So Splinter is now a human rat, and the Turtles, they're just little babies, and they don't really talk or anything like that. And at this point, Splinter's actually trying to run away from the Krang, as the Krang are actually hunting them down since they accidentally got mutated. And so Splinter's trying to run away from them and everything. And at one point actually in the episode, we hear a line where the Krang says "Oh, we can't detect them underground," and that kind of gives our origin of why the Turtles and Splinter, they end up in the sewers. Is just so they don't actually so they run away from the Krang, and they can't actually detect them, and that's pretty much their reasoning why, between the Turtles being babies and the first episode, which is what, 16 years I believe, or maybe 15 years. It's been a while since I've seen the first episode, but why the Krang actually gave up trying to find them. So some like really cool things we actually get in this. Like at the very beginning, we kind of get like the origins again, and it's very similar on how like they gave the origins in the first episode. Now here's actually something really neat. When Splinter gets mutated, he screams. That scream is very familiar. You want to know why? Because our Season 5 opening for Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has been that scream. It's actually kind of cool how they just kind of like reused that. Obviously, probably for editing wise, they probably sound recorded that scream for that episode, and then they used it for the opening because it's the exact same one. It was kind of neat, like just hearing that. So something kind of weird about this is that, so at the beginning, you know, we see that the turtles are toddlers, and then Splinter's actually telling them a story when they're babies. So it's kind of like we have a flashback episode. Well, in that episode, there's another flashback. Well, which technically really wasn't a flashback since there's nothing in here that shows that there's nothing in there that shows present day. But that's just me going off topic. So, but like when we do see the turtles as babies, and we actually see them actually like having the characteristics of like what they grow up to be, and we get like we see like Donatello like plugging in the lights. We see like Raphael like, you know, ready for action and everything as he's like mimicking movements. We see like just Leonardo just paying attention to everything that Splinter's doing, and we see Michelangelo, you know, burping and eating and just being the troublemaker that he is. And it's actually, it fits really good, and nowhere in the part where they're babies where we actually see like their colors, which I actually really respect that they did this, because it made it most of the time like with Ninja Turtles, especially they put in the colors and everything so we can know right away which one's which. And over here they made it that like from their movements and actions we can tell which turtle is which. And also, like, you know, it's still their skin color, and like, you know, like for example, like if you pay attention, like Michelangelo, he's the lightest one and he has like the freckles, but I liked how they did that. I liked that they didn't like dumb it down for us, the audience, that we have, and like just make it that, like, you know, it's instantly we know which one is which. That we actually kind of had to figure it out. And so also so there's like really some origins in here. Like when I go origins, I mean like we find out like how the turtles actually got named, and like they actually picked out their names. We get to a point where each baby turtle, they actually like find their weapon and everything, and that's kind of like the premise of this actual story of like how they actually chose their weapons. Now here's one thing about the weapons though. So throughout the episode we see the bow staff in the shopping cart, and but we actually never see the bow staff actually being used, actually like Donatello grabbing it, or we're not seeing. We see everything else from the other weapons. We see interaction with the Nunchaku. We see the interaction with a sai, kind of like a sai. I think what they use in that episode has a different name because there's only like 2 prongs instead of 3 prongs. We see the sword, but but we get teased throughout the whole episode with the bow staff, but we don't actually see the bow staff being used. I'm wondering if, what I really believe, I believe at one point it was actually going to be used, and they probably had to cut it for time because there's so much into this episode that they probably had to just it probably never even got the chance animated, and they probably like put it so much in the actual card itself just so we don't forget about it. Also, we actually get an origin of Raphael's shell. We actually see like how it got cracked, and which is actually like really cool. I actually really liked that they answered that for us, even though we got to a point where we probably where we just kind of accepted that Raphael has a cracked shell, and but I like that they actually did that for us. Now the action in this episode really top notch, and you can tell it is one of those animation cheats that they do that a lot of animation does, where obviously Ninja Turtles kids show. We can't make it too violent. What we can be violent against is robots, and that's why we see Splinter just fighting only the Krang. We're not seeing him fight like any foot soldiers. Shredder's nowhere near. Obviously, in story-wise, they really shouldn't be, because at this point the foot hasn't made it to America yet. But when Splinter, Splinter is fighting, and it goes all out. We get something very similar, like how we've seen in the first 4 seasons of Samurai Jack, where they use oil as blood. There's actually a really cool scene at the beginning where he attacks the Krang, and the oil just splatters in Splinter's face and just looks a lot like blood and everything. And it's kind of like their way to go around for the blood. We even have a point where Splinter does like a Kano heart rip on the Krang, and it just pulls it out of the body and everything. And this is actually not something new we've seen. We've seen this before. In fact, we saw it not too long ago with Worlds Collide. For now, something that's been a running theme with Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for this season is that most of our episodes have been either 3 or 4 parts. In one case, we also had a 2-parter. This is a standalone story, just 1 episode, and I'm pretty sure probably the main reason for it is probably because, especially with Kevin Eastman's schedule, if you've seen how much stuff he's been doing, he probably only had enough time to only write a 1 episode, which is actually, and it couldn't be more fitting that it was just the origin episode. It was actually really cool seeing Splinter again. I liked seeing him having center stage, and I really liked how this episode kind of represented what this season was going to do. Was we're going to get different storylines, and it doesn't actually have to correlate from each other, where its own standalone. And I really loved how it showcased that, this is the past. This episode doesn't have to do with anything with the rest of the season. You can watch this episode and probably not watch anything else that happened with the season, and you're not gonna get lost or anything like that. Or you can even skip this episode. If I was you, I would not be skipping this episode, because this episode was amazing. It was really enjoyable. I really liked what they gave us. You know what? I want to know. Let me know down in the comments below. What you guys actually think of this? And did you like seeing the turtles as babies? And did you like that this was actually written by Kevin Eastman? Let me know down in the comments below. And let me know what you guys actually think about Seth Green voicing Leonardo and his in that little maybe I think 2 or 3 lines. Alright. Alright, till next time, guys. Alright. See ya. What? How is a baby turtle even holding a pizza like that? Oh my gosh.
Please like this video and subscribe to Moving Lakposht Studio. We have so many awesome videos, especially me. We have these baby tetties. I have to take care of them. No sharp thing. These are not good for the babies. It's a sleep time. Please like and subscribe. Your blanket. And it's sleep time. Shh. Okay, I can eat this pizza by myself. Like and subscribe. Sleep, baby. Like and subscribe.